1, and hello to people out there. We'll
Hi, everybody.
give this a minute just for people to connect up with us. I just need to turn off a couple of things, and all being well, we'll get some viewers on shortly.
Or not.
Okay, so hi guys. We've got a team of 2 and not a team of 3 because we've got a poorly pet, haven't we? So unfortunately, Eugene is not able to join us. He's got a bit poorly, but we've got Paula and Sean with us. So do you guys want to say hello and give an introduction of who you are? Go for it, Paula.
Hi, I'm Paula from Magnetic Pets, and this is...
I'm Sean from Tiny Magnetic Pets. Play synthesizers and occasional guitar and occasional, even less occasional bass.
And backing vocals.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd just like to say a big thank you for taking time out to come and have a chat with us tonight.
You're welcome.
So we have got a few questions, which I'm going to fire at you. So where I'm going to start off is the exciting news with this Vince Clarke mix that's been done. And I've got a question here from somebody called Phil Murray. He's asking, with the release of the new CD and vinyl, he wants to ask, how did the remix with Vince Clarke come about? And how did it feel to give somebody the right to play with your music and tinker with it?
It came about by our manager Una, who knew a mutual friend who sent Vince the roughs of Blue Wave and
The album,
and we ended up talking, and we were very fortunate that he wanted to do, and we wanted him to do as well, obviously a remix. So yeah, we were blown away. I mean, we were honoured by that. It's incredible. And also, how do I feel about people using playing around with our stems, the vocals and the sounds? I don't mind at all. I mean, especially Vince Clarke, I'm not going to criticize him.
Well, you know that someone like Vince Clarke is a safe pair of hands.
Yeah.
And we were absolutely knocked out by the end result. It was, I remember just grinning from ear to ear when I first played it back, and I thought, yeah, this is brilliant. Really happy with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting on the album, on the EP that's going to be released, Automation. We've obviously our own version. Then we have Vince Clarke's version. We have a very disco one by Nick Reachup, who's manager of the Prodigy. So he's done a really disco, funky version. And then we've Workings of a Madman, more ambient. So it's a lovely mix. So there's 4 tracks on it. So you're delighted with how they all turned out.
So Phil continues. Who else, that's like, say, Bowie, Kraftwerk accepted, past or present, would the Tiny Magnetic Pets like to work with individually to create a piece of music?
Sean, do you want to go next?
Frozen.
Sean's frozen. Okay. For me, obviously, David Bowie.
It just froze there. I didn't.
Did
who
you hear
would we like to work with?
Right, I'll fire the question over again.
Sorry, it's all going. Yeah, because technology's not being our friend here at the moment.
Don't leave me on my own.
All right, Sean, it's a supplementary question from Phil, and he's asking, who else, Bowie and Kraftwerk accepted, past or present, with Tiny Magnetic Pets, and each of you individually like to work with to create a piece of music?
I'm kind of. speaking for myself, since we're doing it individually, the first person that would come to mind, as far as kind of collaboration wise goes, to actually kind of write something, would be say Brian. But that's kind of really an obvious choice. Production wise, probably him as well, or Jim O'Rourke would be an interesting. I always like somebody to take me out of my comfort zone and kind of take me away from what I normally do, and just kind of make it a bit more kind of interesting. Paula?
I would like to see, well, obviously David Bowie would have been incredible. I would have been up there, both our number one, with Sean.
Yeah, I think that would have been, yeah.
Let's pick somebody female. I've often thought about, I read Tracy Thorn's autobiography, and she's somebody I kind of connect with, and I'd like to do something with her. I wouldn't mind doing, I think that would be nice to do something with Tracy Thorn. I think she was pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it's endless, isn't it? You could go on and name quite a few. But yeah, those two would be great. Dave Gann, get him. Be another good one. Yeah.
That's, yeah, as far as duets and things go, that would be good. I don't want to duet with anybody. Except you, Paula.
Going into the future, you never know what may come up. So I've got another question coming here from Sabine Condry, and she's asking, do you prefer playing your own headline gigs in small, more intimate venues, or do you prefer supporting bands in the bigger venues?
Depends what the catering's like.
Do you know, if there's something amazing supporting the bigger bands and the big venues, you've got top sound, top lights, an amazing crew, lovely people to work with. You know you're in good, safe hands. I found that the audiences as well, with the tours we've done, really accepting and really, really warm and really, really nice. So I think for me, at the moment, yes, I'd probably go with the bigger bands in the bigger venues because I'm greedy.
Yeah, and the smaller venues, you have to hump all your own gear and then go past sandwich in the local. No, Paula doesn't. No. Yeah, that stuff mysteriously sets itself up. So,
yeah, right.
That's all I have.
Another question here from Tangius Tom. Tiny Magnetic Pets, we hope you're well. Have you got any plans to go over to Germany when all the shit is over?
Definitely. We were hoping to get back to Germany in 2020, and we were, Una was making all these plans. As soon as we finished on the Midge Vienna tour, not about exactly a year ago, and we had all these, Una had made all these plans, and she was having all these kind of conversations with people about going to tour Germany, etc. And I jinxed the whole thing by saying 2020 is really going to be our year. And then the next thing, we're getting locked down. Everything's cancelled. So yeah, definitely we're coming back to Germany. Yeah. Since Dusseldorf is our spiritual home, we have to come back to Germany as often as possible.
And you looking forward to going to Germany again, Paula?
Oh God, I love it. I mean, we were so fortunate to do those two tours back to back in December. Like that was just crazy. We did the whole of Germany with OMD first, and then literally the next night we arrived. Hi, Mitch! Like that was just, I'm going around Germany again, crowds of people. We've made so many friends in all different locations, and as Dylan knows, we've met her at quite a few venues. Yeah, I mean, we're a bit behind here in Ireland as with the vaccine and stuff, so as soon as we can, we would just love to get back to play there. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and another question that's come in from Martin West. Would you like to tour Australia?
Nah.
Yep. The thing is, we've got this kind of bit of a mad obsession with playing live, and the studio's fun, and it's and it's one thing doing the creative bit, but it's getting out and playing live is where the stuff actually lives, because it's kind of a bit, as I say, once you've done it in the studio, you're finished. It's done. It's over. And what do? Go and do the next one? No, you get out and you play it live. And we're very kind of old school in that way, because we just believe in hard gigging. So, yeah, Australia, yeah, love to do it. I mean, if the demand was there, I mean, Paula's halfway there already. I can tell by the look on her face. So, yeah, definitely.
And would you like to go down under, Paula?
Yes, yeah, it would be amazing. It'd be incredible. Yeah, and even, as I said, music's just taken us to so many different countries already. So let's keep it going. Definitely.
Well,
the more the merrier.
Yeah, fingers crossed one day that may happen. And say we've got OMD who've been trying to get over there for many years, who are making it over. So Robert Reed has got a couple of questions in, and he wants to know: will you be going back to Glasgow ASAP?
Yeah, we loved Glasgow. It was brilliant. Glasgow Glasgow and Belfast are quite similar. They're very similar places with a very similar kind of sense of humor and just kind of vibe of the people. So it's kind of like playing in Glasgow was for me like playing in Belfast. So it's definitely want to come back. We had a great time there. How many times we played? 2? We played twice. Yeah, both were great.
Yeah.
And plus, Una's an ex-Glasgow School of Art person as well, so she likes going back there too.
And you got memories of Glasgow, Paula?
Yeah, Glasgow. We played in, I don't know, was it Symphony Hall? I can't remember. It was a massive venue with OMD, and we played a smaller venue ourselves. But again, just a really warm, receptive crowd, and felt like at home. Great vibe. Definitely go back.
That's when you went to the pictures on your own, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Actually, sorry, Eugene and I both went, and we just went into. No, that was somewhere else. Sorry, actually.
That was somewhere else. You went your own.
Yeah, I did go mine.
Rocket Man, I think it was.
No.
Bohemian Rhapsody.
No, it was well before that. The heck was it? No, I knew it was something a lot darker, Sean. No, what it was actually.
So I've got a question coming here from Sandra Taylor, which is my wife, and she's referring to the 2 gigs you did on the Amsterdam ferry, and she's asking, what was it like before performing live on a ferry, and would you do it again? And she's saying all she remembers is dancing, and her feet did not touch the deck again, depending on the wave.
That was that was just bizarre. I mean, going over was. I mean, I've been on boats loads of times, but to actually try playing while you're standing on a stage is actually moving from side to side.
But also, do you remember? We did the gig going over. Obviously, remember you whacked your head as well when we got off the.
I whacked my head on the way in.
But so we did the first show with OMD, and then we went into everybody to get off the boat, and they were like, "Okay, see you now." And Andy goes, "Yeah, we're off now." We're like, "You're off." I'm like, "Oh yeah, you guys are the main entertainment on the way back." We're like, "What?" Yeah, we're all going now. We were just doing the entertainment coming over, and we're like, "Oh, right."
Yeah, you're headlining on the way back.
So that was they all went, and it was actually the sound and everything was really good. It was certainly an experience. I would not be good on boats at all, so I was pretty nervous and anxious about that one, but it was good.
We were treated really well by the staff there and the organisers of that. That was really good, and the stage setup and everything was quite high tech. But that was really good, and coming back was kind of number one was the audience were a bit more mellow on the way back, shall we say, than they were on the way going. And there was a DJ. There was all very Phoenix Nights on the way back. It was, yeah, it was great. Had a great time.
It really was a bizarre weekend. Really watching you guys, and then Andy McCluskey was actually touching the ceiling. It was like a mirror ceiling, and it was the most bizarre OMD gig I think I've ever been to.
Yeah.
And then you guys rocked with it going over. I think everybody was having a few sherbets, and then obviously it was a bit more subdued on the way back. But what a weekend that was.
It was great.
Definitely.
A question now from Alison Grayson, and she's asking if you've got any more plans. Obviously, we've slightly touched on this, but any plans in the pipeline for concerts in England?
Yeah.
We'd love to play. We were going to. We had, as I said, we had planned quite a few dates. So yeah, we'll get back there. And we've played some lovely venues in the UK on our own. And look, as soon as we can, and I mean, I presume everyone's going to be very booked up for a while, but as soon as we can get back, we will be back, 100%.
Yeah, we're all into this great big unknown. As I say, your rules where you are different to England, and England are different to Scotland and Northern Ireland and Wales and Europe. It's it's a shame. To be honest, it's a bit of a shame that we're not a little bit more joined up. It would make life easier. John Mullen is asking, what was the inspiration behind the new album, and who musically were the biggest influences in the band's overall sound?
Well,
I think sorry, I lost you there, Paula.
Oh, sorry. I think coming off the back of mid-Euro tour, without probably realising it, there was quite a lot of Ultravox influences. I mean, when you're listening to an artist like that, sound checking during the day, and then you listen again that night without probably realising it, it probably definitely influences. We never ever set out to go, it's going to sound like the last album, or it's going to sound like this or that, ever. We never do that. We just write, and things transpire and become, they just, I don't know, we're never really, I guess, of course you can hear influences, there are influences, but we never, what's the word, Sean? We never really set out to.
Yeah, they're not conscious. They just kind of seep out. As Mr. McCluskey famously said about Kraftwerk, it's in their DNA, and those things they're in our DNA, our musical DNA as well. So they slide out without us even kind of noticing that it's happening. And as far as the inspiration behind it goes, we had our album, The Point of Collapse, more or less ready to go, bar the sequencing and kind of arranging, for 4 sides of vinyl or whatever. And so the plan was that we were going to do that, and then we would go on tour with it. But then obviously COVID happened. So unlike the last time, whenever we came off the OMD tour, Harvey Stone was, there's a crash when you come off a tour. I mean, everything just goes, returning to normal. Everybody gets down, but usually one of us gets down, the other one can pull us up, etc., etc. But this time with the whole COVID thing, all 3 of us crashed. So it was kind of, it was pretty bleak, for everybody. So we just found ourselves sitting around, and Una was doing a rally the troops kind of thing. I know, let's do an EP. Let's do the show right here. And so we started working on, we only had one kind of bit of an idea, which turned into Blue Wave Parts 1 to 3. But that's really all we had when we started. And that's 12 and a half minutes as it was. So that's virtually an EP in itself. So, we added another couple of tracks, and then we thought, it's going to be a mini album. And then the whole thing kind of expanded from that. But that was the kind of the inspiration behind the album. We just ended up, despite what Paula ordered beforehand, that we weren't going to write about lockdown, and we weren't going to write, but we ended up kind of, writing about lockdown and all this thing, because we couldn't help it. It just, that's what was going on, because there was nothing else to influence us.
I think in many years to come, I think subconsciously, the psychological effect on writing, I think the lockdown will subconsciously come into lots of music in years to come. So we've got another question from Robert Reed again. He's been a bit cheeky getting a couple in, but that's Robert. Hello, Robert, again. Robert wants to...
Gary Barlow, Robert. Still don't like Gary Barlow.
So I'm going to ask a question. So what is it between Gary Barlow and Ken Barlow, Paula?
Ken Barlow.
Is this a private joke?
Not really.
It's a bizarre question.
Oh, no. I mean, no, I can't stand Gary Barlow. And every time you turn on Facebook and stuff, he was doing that damn crooners thing, which was absolutely wrecking my head. He looks in pain when he sings. So I think Robert might have picked up on that, but I don't like him. Not a fan. Sorry.
So all the Take That fans have just switched off. Well, he didn't mention Eve Barlow.
So do you know there is a slight OMD connection with Take That?
Yes. Go ahead.
So Phil Coxon, who used to play keyboard for OMD in the interim years, let's call them, so he ended up doing quite a bit of mixing and bits and bobs for Take That.
Okay, so we're getting on the Gary Barlow for that.
So anyway, Robert's question is, what's the news on the remixes you've been talking about and release dates? And he also says a big thank you to Una as well.
A bit late with that one, Robert.
It's May the 21st for the remixes, Sean?
May 21st, the EP's coming out, the remixes.
There's just so many dates to remember. I've got all lockdown coming out of dates, and we've got release date.
June the 21st is the important one over there. We don't have them.
Simon Legwood is asking, how did the band originally form, and were any members of you guys, were you in other groups doing any other electronic music or anything previously?
Yeah. I was. Paula was writing for some people. I was in a band called The Vivid, which is kind of, didn't realize how hard that was going to be to say over the phone to people when we came up with the name. We did kind of electronic stuff. Our last album was called Stripper. You can check it out on Spotify. It's actually up there. It was great, but it just fizzled out. But it was it was good. It was good fun as well. We toured Germany, etc. And it was actually a weird thing when we were playing in the tempo drum. So a woman came up to me and she was speaking in German. I don't, beyond the kind of smattering, I don't really have much in the way of German. And our friend Bina was there, and I asked her to translate, and I asked her what she just said, and she said, "Didn't I see you years ago in Pen and Please?" And my jaw just dropped, and I was like shocked. So she'd obviously been to the Vivid show, and she remembered me from it. So that was kind of.
I met through again a mutual friend in a place called Factory Rehearsal Studios, where all the bands in Dublin. It was a lovely, really fine rehearsal space. Used to rehearse, so I was introduced to Sean, and I've been doing music. I've been sort of BMG and I've always been involved in music and singing. So Sean and I clicked. I joined the band with him and others, and then it kind of petered down to just myself and Sean. And then, to make this very short, Sean and I were doing a gig, and with Eugene's, who was in another band, who was supporting us. And I asked him, would he mind jumping on stage and joining us, play drums, and then we stole him, basically.
Yeah, it was Semaphore was the track he set in on drums. It was the first. That's when Semaphore was only 8 minutes long.
Oh, it was only
a mere 8 minutes, and we got him to sit in for that. He was asking me what to do. I said, just go with it. Just think Keith Moon and just play.
song.
That's what he did. That was and he's been there ever since.
Best thing I ever stole to Eugene.
It's interesting to hear a little bit about your past. So that's thank you ever so much for sharing that. Question here from Mark Holt, and he's asking, do you think musical streaming is friend or foe, or do you think it's a great way to get instant coverage for emergent artists, but maybe not established bands? What's your view on streaming music?
Yes, you can absolutely get instant fans, you can get out there, but there's a huge, huge but for artists. We earn absolutely nothing from it, and I mean nothing. And like, that's our music out there. That's what we work. That's what we put all our time into. Writing, Sean doing the artwork, Una doing the promotion and all the work on it, and like that's our livelihood and our business, and we make nothing really from the streaming. I think there should definitely, that should be up. It should be fair. They have our album, we have our music, but you have to be on it. And yes, it is. There's no doubt about it. It is fantastic. It gets you out to the world, but I think fair is fair. The artists are not supported financially enough on those platforms.
The business model is
and those kind of ones, obviously.
The business model is a joke. I mean, Ed Sheeran makes more out of our records than we do on Spotify. So it's this weird thing where it all goes into a big pool and all. It's just really rather than people who are streaming our stuff, we get paid for the fans who are streaming our thing. It all goes into goes to Ed Sheeran.
I just wanted to, so I've just nipped over onto Facebook. So we have got quite a few people over on Facebook watching live. So hi guys.
Hi Ed.
Hi Gary.
Ed's just joined us.
I'll never ring again. But he does. John and I are
I'm getting some daggers here from Una. Again, there's some.
Eugene is the diplomatic one. John and I are the about it. Sorry.
So I will squeeze in a couple of questions that are there on Facebook. So just a quick shout out to Stephen Webb, Ian Nicholson, Rob Baldwin, Paul McCulloch, Lisa Hawkins, Magnus Gracia, Robert Reed, Michael, Paul, Alison, they're all watching live. So,
thank you.
Okay, so next question's coming in from Lisa Hawkins, and she's asking, what's been your favourite venue to play so far, and is there anywhere you'd especially like to play?
Yes, the first one that comes to my mind is the Tempodrome. Was amazing. We got to play that. It was just beautiful. It was just a moment, and I'd love to play Union Chapel headlining as Tiny Magnetic Pets if I had a choice. It would be my two. And we played some also incredible venues, but that's the one that would come to my mind first.
Yeah, the Union Chapel would be a good one because we could do some of the more intimate, quieter things. That was, I think, Tempodrome for me as well. I think that was just an absolute. I mean, the venue itself, is just absolutely beautiful. But having said that, we played the Islington in London, and the Pier Hat in Manchester, which was just like. It was brilliant. It was dirty. It was sweaty. It was tiny, and I had a great time. And
so
yeah,
huge part of it.
I think as far as a gig's a gig, as far as we're concerned, and we kind of love all the big things, but some of the small ones that Islington one was absolutely fantastic. There was a moment there where. Paula was just standing on stage and the audience were singing back the chorus of Here Comes the Noise just on a loop. And that was really a moment, shall we say.
Yeah. It felt like it was a really big bunch of friends as well, just enjoying music together. It definitely felt like that. Just everyone having a lovely time. It was a really lovely atmosphere and feeling.
I don't know about
thank you to everybody, by the way. I know you're just amazing to keep supporting us, and we really, really appreciate it. I'm sure I can speak for Eugene and Sean as well, definitely. So just in case I forget, thank you again, seriously.
Yeah.
So Lisa sort of reminisces, and you mentioned this gig in Islington. She says she loved the hot, sweaty gig in Islington.
Yeah,
But she says her most memorable was watching you from an armchair at the Kino in St. Leonard's.
Oh, yes. Yeah, the Kino, that is a beautiful venue. That is absolutely, what I love about it is it's an art gallery with a cinema / gig and a restaurant. It's got like all three things to keep me occupied for hours on end. Just really, and Olga, who runs it, is lovely, really, really nice. But that was, but the Islington was great. I don't know about getting other people sweat on me, how much I enjoyed that, but it was, in a gig scenario, but it was.
You don't get mine more often.
So, Dave, book us in with a question, and this is quite interesting because what an amazing experience for you to have had supporting Mid-Year. And he's asking, how did it feel when you were asked to support Midge? How was it all?
I think Sean rang me and I screamed, didn't I?
Yeah.
Sean,
yeah.
Mid-Year. Again, I watch him sound check every single day. The man is just so passionate, and I've said this before. He just gets lost in the music. He's incredible. He's just amazing to watch. I love him. It was a pinch me moment being asked to go on that tour twice. It was really, God, I loved every minute of it.
Plus, for me, he was in Thin Lizzy briefly as well. So, I mean, one of my favorite bands, and that was just incredible. But it was just amazing. It was just, I remember when the kind of, I think it was Una told me that we got the support slot. That was just fantastic. It was great. And my first thing is always get on the phone to Paula, and I never tell her straight whenever something good happens. I always kind of beat around the bush for about 5 minutes, and then before I drop the message.
I'll tell you a story about Vince Clarke. Do you remember some guy? Some guy called Vince Monster.
Some bloke called Vince wants to remix our track. What do you think?
What has he done? As you know, you go to OMD a lot. You love OMD. So,
Paula was going, okay, whatever, let him do it, or whatever. I said, second name, is this familiar to Clark? His second name's Clark. Then suddenly there was
But I think, as you know, you go to OMD, and a lot of the people on here would be, when you go to a concert, when it's somebody that inspires you and that you're absolutely crazy about, like to see Mid-Year playing Astrodyne and being every single night, you just have to go, oh my God, this is amazing. You're getting to see them soundcheck, you're getting to see them perform like 20 dates. You get to go to their concert again and again. And that is amazing as an artist that you're supporting somebody you absolutely love and admire, and you get to see them every single night, night after night. That is, for me, it's just, never get tired of that. I go out all the time into the audience and watch.
One of the things that we found out the hard way from the OMD thing just before that is, don't stand in the audience and sing along at the top of your voice, with the band, because you've got a show to do the next day. And
he said that to me one night. He said, I could see you. Would you stop singing? And I was like, what? He goes, I can see you there. He goes, leave the singing to me. You can dance away. He said, but you're there singing because your voice is your instrument. He goes, stop singing every night. So I'm obviously, So, and he's right, because you do, I've done my set, then I'm singing along to an hour and a half of his set, full blast, and you're screaming when you're in the audience, and you have to get up and do it again tomorrow. So he said, I could see you. He goes, stop doing that. I was like, ooh. So,
she was doing it every night. She was doing it on the Midge tour as well. Yeah.
So another sort of questions from Dave Book again, and we have already touched on this, but he's asking what were your or are your biggest musical influences?
I listen to a lot of what?
You go ahead.
I listen to a lot of I listen to both types of music, synth pop and progressive rock. There really isn't anything else. So and where they cross over is brilliant. So it would be stuff like obviously the usual things that we all have in common: Bowie, Depeche Mode, OMD, etc., Ultravox, all those things. But I would listen to a lot of. I'm a big fan of the Monkees. I love the Monkees. Everybody thinks I'm joking when I say it, but you know, some of their songwriting ideas have kind of influenced the way I do things, because they had a technique of doing so, especially harmonies. A lot of harmonies I got are from actually listening, growing up with Monkees records and listening to them and singing along with them. I'd always sing the harmony parts. And it's one of the things that struck me about La Dusseldorf the first time I heard that first masterpiece of an album. I remember thinking that the harmonies sounded like the Monkees. And so now I kind of now associate those kind of Monkees type harmonies with krautrock, etc. So that's kind of progressive rock, King Crimson, Yes. So if you kind of listen to our kind of longer things, you find there's kind of very kind of Yes like bits in there, because they both King Crimson and Yes had this great way with they could get the boot in and be really heavy, but they also had there was always a bit where it would bliss out and it would go really melodic. And especially Yes were fantastic at doing that. The first ambient breakdown I ever heard was on a Yes record, where it just hammered my head for 15 minutes, and in the last 5 minutes it just floated. That was before I heard any Eno or anything like that. And I couldn't believe just that end bit of this 20-minute song. I just thought, this is incredible. So yeah, all these things creep in. I think most people would be surprised at the Yes connection with what we do, but it's definitely in there. And progressive rock's a massive connection with 90s dance music as well. Most 90s dance artists, anytime you see any of those old interviews with them, who's your favorite band? Invariably Genesis or Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's true.
I absolutely loved Yes in the Day, the album Going for the One. I think I just wore it out. So, Paula, your influences over the years?
I'd be very much in the same with Sean Crawford, Depeche Mode, David Bowie. I'd listen to a bit more current, Future Islands, Tame Impala, School of Seven Bells, Air Review, Neon Neon's an album Sean just got me into a while ago. So yeah, it'd be the same. I mean, Ultravox, obviously, the Vienna album is another fantastic album. So
the Jarvis album as well. The Jarvis album. Also, sorry, I do listen to current as well. And there's one album I always keep bringing up is by an Egyptian artist called Dina El Wadidi, and the album's called Slumber, and it's absolute modern electronic masterpiece. If you like Kate Bush, Laurie Anderson, it's an Eno sort of thing. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a Russian band called Short Paris, who their last album is called Easter. They're quite brilliant. There's another Russian artist called Nadia with 2 A's. She's rather excellent in a kind of normal / really disturbingly creepy sort of vibe, which I can't put my finger on. And another Russian band called Dolphin, whose album I discovered, the song titles are just numbers like 541, 142. Yeah. So most of the modern stuff I'm listening to, no English lyrics.
So, how do you go about discovering Russian bands?
Finishing up early in the studio one night, and we decided to go and have a tea break, and I just surfing YouTube, and let's see what, just out of curiosity, let's see what people were listening to in Russia. I just 1980s Russian synth pop. That was the thing I put in, and this first thing came up was Forum, this band called Forum. and this absolute belter of a tune. If you just Google 80s Russian synth pop, there's a picture of a rather innocent looking guy. That's it. It's called, I don't know what it is in Russian, but it's called Let's Call Each Other or something, which doesn't translate that well. But it's an absolute banger of a tune, and it just clocks in under three minutes. And the next one up after that was a band called Allianz, who, they've got this unbelievable skyscraper of a tune called Nazaire. Everybody knows it. It's got billions of hits on the web. People are covering it all over the place. Plus, the guy and the synth player in the disco shades and the Hawaiian shirt has now become a bit of a meme as well. So, that's basically how we did it. And we just kept on going through everything. What comes up next? What comes up next? Because we'd kind of, in the West, we'd kind of been led to believe that kind of behind the Iron Curtain in kind of Russia was a very grey old place. And, but you can tell from listening to these records and listening to these artists that, number one, young people were still young people. Number two, they were obviously listening to Duran. They were listening to Ultravox, etc. That was quite nice to actually kind of find that out.
That's excellent. Coming in from Marie-Eve Weber, Blue Wave being on her regular playlist. She's wondering if you've got any favourite songs on it, and which one can't you wait to play live?
Favorite songs. The Blue Wave would be the one to play live. City Sweeps would be great live. Drowning in Indigo we had done on the live stream, and I really liked singing that. And then I don't know, I kind of pulled towards Mid-Atlantic Drift, maybe one of my favorite songs on the album. Blue Wave. Yeah, I don't know. It was, yeah.
I think we all kind of listen to it as one big thing. We just kind of, it's really hard to pick out a favorite, but I think I'm with Paula on that would be Blue Wave and Mid-Atlantic Drift. I think would be, but obviously, if I know Paula, that once we get into rehearsals, it's the bangers that take over. So Paul will be up there giving it loads with automation. So that's Paula's great for wanting to do ambient. Let's do the ambient stuff live on stage, and then 5 minutes into rehearsal, this is really boring. Let's just give me a beat.
It's going to be exciting times for the fans to see some of the new material being played live for the first time. That's going to be really exciting.
Really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So Steve Cooper is asking a very simple question. Have you had your jabs?
They're only getting to the over 80s at the moment here.
They're only doing their mates.
No, we're a good way off, unfortunately. So, yep. Yeah. There you go.
Now, fingers crossed. By the end of summer, we will be on some kind of a new normal. Paul McCulloch, he's saying, like myself, Sean, I think you like Tangerine Dream. He's asking, did you like the Tiger LP based on the poetry of William Blake? And does the band write any poetry?
No, we don't. We don't write poetry. And I'm a massive Tangerine Dream fan, but my thing would mostly have been the 70s. I'd kind of stopped around about 1987. I think it was the Underwater Sunlight album was the last one I got. The 70s stuff was just groundbreaking. Virtually every album was just a revelation, and I got all these. These were all old albums when I got them, so most of my collection when I was a kid were all old records. So I kind of ended up growing up with kind of always looking backwards. God, they had all this stuff. This is going on in the 70s, and that wouldn't happen now. You wouldn't get away with that. So they kind of like a lot of people in the 80s, when you listen to their 70s kind of output, they got a bit more, even the more outrageous ones all got a bit more normal and a bit more. So I wasn't getting the weird stuff in the 80s. So 80s Tangerine Dream the weirdness wasn't there anymore. It was all kind of melody, and it was all. So no, I haven't heard the Tiger album, and we don't write poetry either. It's no. I once asked a famous musician, how come he never put his lyrics on his record covers? And he said, because it's not poetry, they're song lyrics. That's, yeah.
Would you not think that to some extent lyric writing is poetry?
Yeah, but it's kind of like, for someone like us to actually come out and say our lyrics are poetry, it seems like a kind of grand conceit. Years ago, I went along for an audition in a band, and the singer sounded all interested and everything, and the singer said, "Well, I kind of see myself as a poet," and my interest level just dropped through the floorboards there and then, because the danger with my point being that the danger with someone who writes lyrics starting to think that their lyrics are poetry or whatever, so suddenly the music then gets edited to fit the lyrics. We don't believe in that, because the music comes first and the lyrics second, and the lyrics are another instrument in with the whole kind of tapestry, if you will, of the actual kind of music. Now, this is just my personal kind of feelings towards it, but a lot of times I've seen, I was hoping not to bring this up, but this is to kind of get into this being Ireland, this whole singer-songwriter thing that people start getting into. Una's getting nervous over here. But you get this whole kind of singer-songwriter thing where I saw an interview with this person, and they said, for my new album, 80% of the work went into the lyric. So 20% for the music. I'm not saying anything beyond that. That's, yeah. Touch the nerve.
You'll have to bring in John Cooper Clarke as your support.
Oh yeah, I saw him once. He was brilliant. He was absolutely fantastic. Yeah, we see, but he's a standalone kind of. He's like a punk poet, and he looked fantastic. But he's brilliant. Yeah, he's great. And Beasley Street, when it was set to music, incredible, really moving piece. Fantastic. He got it right.
It's amazing how John Cooper Clarke managed to keep the momentum going as well. He's much loved, especially in the Northwest where I am. Mike Walton is asking, actually we've sort of touched on this about collaborations, but have you ever thought about doing a classic cover version of a song in your own style?
We've done a few. We did Love the Stranger many years ago. We did a cover of...
Because we had to.
Pardon?
Because we had to.
Yeah. We did a cover of Church's Lives. We did Fade to Grey live. We played that in London with Chris Payne. So, yeah, I think that's probably it for covers. I'm not really drawn to doing covers. Sometimes we just mess around in rehearsals, like you might sing a couple of lines or something, but we just write so much of our own stuff. Doing Fade to Grey was great fun. That was good. And the live.
We knew Chris Payne was going to be at the gig. He was going to be playing there, so we thought it'd be really great if we did a version of a disco version of Fade to Grey. And we asked him, because the whole idea is we're doing it so we could ask him would he come on and would he join us on stage, and he did, and it was amazing. I had to keep looking around going, Chris Payne behind me, and it was fantastic. I think with cover versions, speaking personally, if I'm going to do someone else's song, it's something I really love, and if it's something I really love, I want to do it exactly the way that they did it. You should hear my Scary Monsters. I just want to do it the way it was done. I don't want to kind of change it. I just want to do it that way. So that.
Okay, guys, I'm just going to come on to YouTube. Sorry, not YouTube. I'm Facebook at the moment. So I've got a few live questions sort of in. So one from Stephen Webb, who's watching, and he's asking, have you ever toured the States, or would you ever want to go over?
No to the first part, yes to the second part. We've never toured. The closest we came to it was Paula actually sang the vocal for the cover we did of Lies. Was it By the Side of the Road in
Huntington Beach? Yeah, Huntington Beach.
Yeah, Huntington Beach. She sang the vocal, and then we'd done the track in the studio, and we sent it to her when she was on holidays. And she sang the vocal.
That was recorded into the iPhone, actually.
The iPhone then sent back to us in the studio, and we dropped it into the track. And then she shot the video in Huntington Beach in California as well. That's the closest we've come to actually playing in America. But yeah, I think the dream of every band is to tour America. I mean, it's like,
Okay, I've got a Michael Harvey on Facebook. He's asking, have you got any plans to release any Point Collapse material, maybe as an EP?
No, the whole thing. The whole thing is, the whole album.
You got to remember this whole, with COVID, this gap. So what do? We're musicians, we're writers, we write. So that's why Blue Wave happened. Absolutely everything is there for Point Collapse, like the echoes, falling apart in slow motion. Yeah, that will come out.
Blue Wave was a sanity saver.
Yeah.
I've got Helga Sandmeyer in Germany is asking, what kind of music do you prefer? So again, I guess we have touched down on this.
I mean, really, we all have the kind of stuff that we kind of, our own personal preferences as to what we like. But to be honest with you, I mean, a lot of times there's stuff gets in there that, it's not kind of music that you really like. And I know Eugene's gone, Eugene's at home ill, can't be, so he's going to love this thing. Because me and Paula absolutely love the Hysteria album by Def Leppard. It's just absolutely fantastic album. But I wouldn't normally listen to music like that. I know Paula doesn't. Eugene definitely doesn't. But I only put the thing on for a laugh, and I was grabbed straight away, and it's absolutely great album.
I added it to tour bus, the playlist. Eugene's like, I'm trying to hear it coming on. It's funny. Yeah, we like to know Eugene. Poor Eugene.
Yeah, they turned Mike Oldfield off on the tour bus, by the way.
You with that Russian stuff, freaking 4 in the morning. I think there was food being thrown out and everything. I was like, John. He's like, what? See, Sean would go sleep at about 5 until about 12, as Eugene and I would go at probably about 1 o'clock or whatever until 8 or 9. Sean, you hear this music, and he's like playing it loud on the bus, and you're like trying to sleep, and it's Russian. God, what are you listening to? He's just sitting there on his own, listening. And then
that was a Bioconstructor Dancing on Video album, by the way. If anybody's interested in checking it out on Spotify, Bioconstructor.
And you hear him going, ooh, oh wait, when he discovers other stuff. Like, shut up. Of course, I do the grumpy one after a while. I'm like,
So Elizabeth and Galista, I hope I've said that right, over on Facebook says she would love for you to go over to the States. So she's sending over some love.
Oh, thank you.
Stephen Webb, who just answered a question. He's saying these question and answers are awesome. So again, we've got a few on there. So we're just coming up to an hour. We've got another 5 minutes. So let's just touch down a little bit on. Let's talk about the OMD journey from the day of, I believe, literally sending your art to Andy, him enjoying it, and then getting the opportunity to support them for the first time. The amazing welcome you got by all of the fans. Just tell us a little bit about that journey and what that was like.
We were playing Rusty had a gig in electricity in Dusseldorf, and I think Una gave Andy the album, and then she brought us up to introduce us to Andy or whatever, gave him the album, and yeah, we didn't even know they were touring. We just got an email out of the blue saying, "Would you like to tour with us?" So that was just incredible, wasn't it? I mean, they have been so good to us, and we're forever in debt.
Well, it kind of turned us into a real touring band. I mean, that was it. Just kind of made it all. I mean, we can't kind of express enough gratitude towards OMD, towards Rusty as well, because they kind of turned us into, like, we were just an ordinary kind of little band in Dublin, kind of just making a record and then trying to get somewhere, and then suddenly here we are, kind of, as it's down to them, and it was incredible. But one of the things but again, I got the email first, and I was the first contact I had with Andy after Dusseldorf was, I think it was about 4 months later, and it was in January, and I'll never forget it because it was the morning of, well, later on that evening we'd be opening for Mr. Fleur in Dublin, Wolfgang from Kraftwerk, and I just saw email, because we were quite vibed about kind of going to meet Wolfgang, and I saw this email, Andy McCluskey. Well, what's this? And thinking it was an Andy McCluskey, not the Andy McCluskey, and I kind of read the email. He said how he loved the album, and then weeks later, when they were on tour in America, he was sending me a message saying, "Oh, listen to your album. We got a truck stop layover for 8 hours, and just listening to your album, really love it." And then when it came to do the UK leg, I was sitting in work in a really, really unbelievably mind-numbingly boring job, where I couldn't keep my eyes open every day, and I just I'll check my emails, and I just saw, oh, there's one from Andy. Would you like to join us on the UK tour? And I remember the time just like ready to jump up, kind of bit my lip, compose myself. I said, I'll be back in a second. Walked out into the stairwell. And I went, yes, jumping up and down, punching the air. And I lost that job. So that was worth it.
You've got to remember, like, up until 2017, we were very studio based. There's no point. The electronic scene is not very big over here. There's no point in us going out and playing with a singer-songwriter. There's nothing wrong with singer-songwriter, but there's no point in us going out to a crowd that isn't, stop that, Sean, isn't, there's no point in going to play to a guitar band, whatever, it's typically Irish sound. So we were pretty choosy in the gigs. We did Wolfgang Fleur gigs, we did a few gigs like that, but that's why we were predominantly studio-based. So to get this, that's definitely opened huge doors for us. It was the right route for us to tour with, and I think we complemented. I think it worked very well, didn't it? So that's definitely, and lovely guys. I mean, been amazing.
Yeah, that was great. And then, like, even on the German tour, that was another kind of email moment as well.
Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, and also one of the things that's been great about OMD has been our fans. A lot of their fans are now our fans as well. So that was good. And we were absolutely gobsmacked about it. I mean, to be honest, the first night of the very first tour, we thought we were going to be standing there playing to about 20 people. As I've seen happen with support bands, but to our amazement, we played at full houses every night, and they bought our merch, and they continue to buy our records, and they continue to support us. And they come to see us live on our solo tours. And thank you very much, everybody, and we really appreciate it. Brilliant.
I hope we see you all soon.
Right, guys, we're going to wind it down. It's been an incredibly fast hour. That's Zoom, but I didn't think it would go on for that long. Can I just wish you all, including Una over there, best for the future, and I hope we're going to get, as I say, back to some normality. See you guys on the road, and wishing you health and wealth going forward.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for giving us this opportunity, and to everybody else again out there, thank you. Really.
Yeah. Thanks a million.
Okay, and thank you everybody out there that's been watching on Facebook and YouTube, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
Maybe. Thank you. Bye.